Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and it is, well, yeah, still Monday, August the 27th, 2018. And I'm with my friends, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Rieger. And this time we're going to talk about, well, I think the title we kind of settled on, if I could find my paper now that I've messed it all around, is Am I am done blocking my superpowers from coming online. And of course, as we do in between conversations, we were having a conversation and it was pointed out to me that I am still blocking some of my superpowers. Yes. Yes.
Well, so am I. So just so you don't feel
I was gonna say,
privileged in that party.
Well, thanks for calling yourself out because I love you. I wasn't going to call you out.
Oh, I was. Now I'm done.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Oh, okay. So just so you know, I wasn't going to, but
No, this is one of those, you either do it yourself or the universe will do it for you. See what I did there? I just raised my hand. Sorry. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it, you know? I saw something today. I am done. I am done. Thank you.
Okay, so hang on. Now, I would like you, since we didn't record it, I would like you to go back to what you said, which led me to actually include all of those things in the title.
Oh, okay.
Right? Remember?
Yeah, I feel like it's a process that, you know, the minute I say I am whatever it is, I'm immediately challenged. And I can sometimes contract immediately and go, am I? And it will turn into I'm really done. And this time I mean it. Before it turns into the I am done. And you know, it's okay. I'm laughing now because I'm telling you, there's a time in my life where I couldn't have laughed at myself this early in the realization phase of this process. But honestly, I'm starting to enjoy even the rough stuff, and some of it is just downright comical. And so I'm enjoying the comedy of myself. I'm going to show.
But that's what I love about you.
Thank you.
Well, actually, when we were not recording and you said that, Lisa, what you said, or at least what ears heard you say.
Hang on, my battery is going to die and I must plug it in. So so you don't lose me, I'll be right back. I know, this is awful.
BZ, when you were saying that about Lisa just then, your mic was a little bit, lowered. So.
Okay, we're in.
All right.
Okay. What I was saying, and you ran off to the bathroom break.
Right?
The moment I started to say that, I noticed that, but back now. So what you actually said, and at least my soul and my ears heard you say, was I said, am I? And then I said, or I guess it could be I'm. And you said, well, or I said, well, or I am. And you said, but if it's I'm, then I don't have to commit yet to I am.
Well, it's that thing I find myself doing yet again.
Oh, hold it. I just had a comprehension of that. Okay, yeah, because it's a contraction. It's contracted down into where I am is the full presence. I mean, I wasn't following. Oh, okay. Sorry, late just for the slow in the
Not
back.
only was
I
Lisa
know.
following it, she kind of nibbled at the edges of it and said,
Yeah.
so when the one or two and then the three being one part of Lisa, the solo part said, yeah, now put all three of them in the titles.
Well, there it is. It's delicious.
So one may ask whether you're saying am I or I'm or I am done blocking my superpowers from coming online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is one of those three things have to do with it? Well, everything. Because if you're not stepping into it, you're small, you're always waiting. You can't wait till I have my superpowers. Okay, well, I can't wait till, little dance. And so it's all part of the thing. Here's the secret, the tip. The megaphone announcement.
Thank you.
Each one of us, is at the genesis of what we want, of the creation point, of blocking it, or bringing it in, or opening up to it, or expanding it. It's us. We can look over there, it's their fault, or their fault, or their fault, but in that thing, it's them is as self is turned around. So we can play with the superpowers and how we're actually blocking them, but I think one of the superpowers that we can play with right at the beginning is those three parts, because they're easily brushed aside. They're often not looked at, truly looked at, noticed, and played with. And they're so commonplace that there's smallness laced all through the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, not always by any means, some trepidation laced in with the third one. And again, the secret, the beauty, the tip. Okay, I won't do it. The megaphone thing is that the third one, and the journey too is beautiful. The journey from one to the other is beautiful. But that third one it's just resoundingly magalicious. It's amazingly incredible. I mean, it's so energizing and rejuvenating and joyful and expansive and just absolutely cosmically delicious. And it's the metaphor and the real tangible step. I mean, there's a manual right there, right? For everything. So my question would be, I can use we as the royal we, or we as all of us collectively, or the you as, kind of all the yous, or any specific you. Why do you do that? Why do we do that? And there was once upon a time, okay, well, listen, but in this moment right now, that is actually moving slow given the trajectory and the plane of energetic frequencies expansion that we're on right this moment. And some people think slow. What are you, nuts? It's going miles a minute. Well, it's slow because just wait, a half a nanosecond of a moment. Why now still are we doing that? What's the payoff? What is so delicious that you're getting that you keep doing it? And there's you, three of us here use, there's all sorts of yous, so right, I gotta use something. So and you is better than we, because you is a little bit more direct, and I think now in these moments with the expansion, direct would be a good thing to play with.
Yeah. Well, I really like the way you put that as a question there, because that's one of the things that I started first for myself, was asking myself questions. So what is the payoff was not one of those questions that I'd considered asking. And so thank you for that, because that now see, again, this kind of came up during, off camera, in between, in regards to me. Remember, we were just talking about how small I was making myself. And so part of that is still, for me, I recognize programming and conditioning. Mm-hmm. True enough. But there has to still be some sort of payoff, I think. Now, some of it may be habitual, yes. Some of it is, but
you've moved so far, expanded so far, it negates that. So that's just a bullshit habitual.
No, and some of it, again, I've realized that is just, again, that not enough focus and attention to whatever, programming and conditioning
or
is. Or
could it be not enough love and not enough trust for thyself?
Yes, absolutely. All of those things are, yes, possible. That's why, I've stated out, and that's my sole focus, is falling in love with self, period. I've never, ever even entertained the idea of courting myself. Or,
just hear what you said. What did you just say?
I never before.
No, before that. That's my.
I don't know. Now, see,
that's my sole focus.
Yes.
That's my soul's focus, is falling in love with myself.
Yes. Wow. No, I didn't even see. Yeah. I mean,
no, hang on. No. Don't worry. This is really powerful, so we're not going to run away from this. Sorry. Ain't going to happen. No. So, you stay with that for a moment. You all stay with that for a moment. Because I can go like this to you and you and you. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to talk for a minute while you're staying with that, because we're going to come right back around to that. And Lisa too.
Okay. Good time.
So what's the payoff? Well, it's habit and conditioning. And so now you're on the races. You're on this and this and that and the other thing. And so I challenged you a little bit more. And I said, well, given where you are and what you've expanded to, that's bullshit. Yes, I know. My sole purpose is to fall in love with myself. In the core, absolutely turned on, tuned in, tapped in, and then we're off at the races again on these other things.
Yes, no, I'm fully aware that have not mastered staying in that center point.
So one of the things that's really helpful is to slow everything down. Didn't we have a conversation the other moment, which is this moment?
Yeah.
About
Yeah, you had great advice then about breathing
and about clearing the decks,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, as you get in the rhythm and the habit of it, you can have a bunch of things on your plate. And so you may have cleared the decks a lot and been more masterful at what's on the deck and how you move it. You know, in my case, working this and the other thing. But since I'm never standing still and I'm always expanding, there is that constant balance to come back into 0 point to go, okay, well, I need to let this go. That's a work thing. I need to let this go. That's just a life thing. I need to let this go, which is this, right? And I need to focus on these other things because I want to. That's the most joyous of those. So I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do. I really like to do that. Okay. But if I feel into it, what is, and for me, the two always go hand in hand. So it's just like my soul's focus is to fall in love with myself, right? Same kind of thing. And it's also the two going hand in what is joyful and expansive for me and that is of service. Those two for me are always together, always. Because if it's not joyful for me, then I can't be of service. I'm useless. And what I am bringing forth, giving forth to be of service, if I'm not joyful and expansive for myself, is kind of leftover, stale, hand-me-down, 3 weeks ago's dinner that I'm trying to pass off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how I came to it, how I held it. Because sometimes I went too far one way or the other, or this and the other thing, and joyful and expansive for me was usually down low on the list. But many, many years ago, I came to that, and when I had that holding of that, which for me is really the same metaphor, or I guess reality definition of 0 point, where I'm in that balance. So it's not a target. It's a moving target in that it's always shifting and changing because we're always changing.
Right.
So I can't say, oh, it's there. I reached it. Yay, high five, I'm done. No. Okay, so now to come back to you in that moment, you could play with what's the payoff for, the small. You could play with what's the payoff for I know why it came through, and I do it like this because there was this column of light that was visible and actually audible to me when you said it. If I was doing some cinematography on this thing, I would have a glow effect in the center to replicate what I experience from a visual and auditory way. Because there was that core, there was that holding, there was that beautiful 0 point right that moment. And then,
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
His part.
Yeah. Yeah, see, so that is something that I would have to, because that's something that I didn't notice. And so, and I like the addition now to my repertoire of what's the payoff, because I don't have an answer for that in this moment.
I hear some people saying, well, what do you mean, what's the payoff? Well, you're continually doing it.
Right.
And yes, you've changed up the manner in which you do it, the things that you pull in, but you're still continually doing it.
Right.
So when you continually do something, there's a payoff. That doesn't mean that it's a healthy payoff or a bad payoff. I'm not ascribing some characteristic to one way or the other, but there is a payoff.
No, yes, there. Well, or otherwise, why continue to do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Or a perceived payoff.
Right.
More than likely, that's the case.
Right.
But that's still actually until we play with it and meet it and and see what wants to unfold and behold from that, we don't know what it is, and we can't play with it. So that's one of those things that, yes, it is helpful to go and spend the time playing to find out that particular thing, because in this instance it's the same, slightly different gyrations, but it's the same for all sorts of things that,
right.
It's kind of like a central payoff that just has different costuming that,
Right.
that it puts on for.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Different occasions.
So what you might do in that instance is just jot down a couple things, a thought, a feeling, a color, a shape, something on your notepad, so that tomorrow in your musings, whatever, that you're playing with that kind of stuff, just as a jumping off point. But I can guarantee you won't have any trouble remembering the jumping off point, because I saw the glow, and there's lots of conversation that wants to come through.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah, that's something I'm going to need a bit to sit with, but I'm ever so grateful for having the opportunity to pull it out, and the addition of that particular question of what's the payoff is a good addition for me. And I ask myself questions about things all the time, and that it never occurred to me to ask in that regard.
Well, it's an open-ended question. It's not a punitive question.
Right.
And it's a good jumping off point for exploration.
Right.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that, however, is the opposite of everything I just said, that question.
Well, and I want to say too that what I have discovered recently, and doesn't hold true necessarily for this particular incident. Okay. However, I have also learned to trust myself in my timing of it as well. And what I mean by that is, I don't feel a sense of overwhelming urgency to hurry up and catch up to where BZ is, or to where Lisa is, or to where, Magenta Pixie is, or Joe Blow down the street. I have no desire for all of that, because at this point, along with the fact that every single one of us are unique, well, that also means that every single one of us will there's a certain trajectory. I think once I truly comprehended the fact that we are all source, and that there is nothing missing, there is nothing left out, everybody has all the same parts and pieces, and all of that on those levels. So where I am is exactly where I'm supposed to be in this moment of now. And I'm not going to get my panties in a wad over the fact that I'm not in the same spot as somebody else.
Yeah.
I am exactly where, I want to continue working on it, and I might feel a little, overwhelmed and kind of, wow, I didn't see that, and so a little frustrated with self, not overly, but wow, how did I not see that before, or something like that. But that's gonna happen, so I'm not stressing it like I used to.
And this is where compassion for self is really, really important. And that's what love would. And another question. I always ask myself, what would love do? Because that's what I want to do. I want to align with that. And I know it's never to beat myself up. That's not what love does. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. You could also say, is that of love?
Yeah.
So if maybe you can't quite get the, what would love do, but is that of love? That's a feeling. Then you can feel the feeling. So that's maybe the precursor to that other question. Sometimes you can travel right there, and sometimes, not. The other thing, I want to go back to what you said for a minute, Sheila, or maybe not, because it just flew right out of my head. No, maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, it will.
So, Lisa, you were going to say something?
I did have something earlier, but now I can't remember because it was earlier. And it leaves. And that's what I have to, well, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on opening my mouth and letting things come out. And also, here it is. Yeah. About trusting myself. Oh, okay, so this is kind of, it's about compassion too. But okay, so I'm putting myself out there in a way that I haven't before, right? And so right away, I wanted to be really small. And my smallness says, well, you could be wrong. And then that would just be horrible for you to go out there and flap in your gums about something and be just wrong. And I have come to terms with that whole thing, because this is, trust what you get and being okay with being wrong. Because sometimes I do misinterpret things, I have realized. And the one time I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. Anyway, sorry. Oh, okay.
One time you thought you were wrong, but you were mistaken.
So
yeah, because I really, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to play with you for a minute, if that's okay. So that's interesting. You said and I realize you had a caveat that it was, the small part of you.
Right.
You could be wrong, but if you're giving your feeling and your sense of how you walk in the world, and how can it be wrong?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, what I'm referring to is some things information I might be receiving from my icons and my new friends that are on board. And yeah, that's actually well, I could be wrong. See, now this is what I'm saying. In my early learning how to interpret the energy when I was automatic writing. So yeah, some things I was taking like literally, and say it was more metaphorically with the intention. So I thought I got wrong information. But actually, I was mistaken. It was information I could not understand as of yet. So it's more a way of holding it. See, so I felt as though there was a chance that I could misinterpret things maybe and misspeak. And so that was stopping me from wanting to really say anything until I knew more, or I don't know. And what I realized, okay, so yeah, I've been working through this for a few days. And what I realized is it's okay to be wrong. That's the thing. It's okay. So I make a mistake or I misinterpret a thing. That's okay too. And I'm just going to trust and embrace.
Are you attached? Are you attached to being wrong? Because it's interesting that you've chosen that word. I don't know. That keeps like a bouncing.
Yeah.
So who is choosing that word?
Well, obviously it's the littlest part of me.
Well, you know, it's you actually,
No,
it's very interesting. You shifted for a moment and you said I could misspeak, which is different than wrong,
right?
or could misinterpret.
Yes.
Now your whole body language changed when you shifted to those two words.
Yeah, because that is kind of what I wrangle with. That there is a possibility that I'm wrong, or that, and it's not even a wrong. It's that I will, yeah, say something incorrect. It is about being wrong.
Well, see, that's off to play and play
Yeah.
with that one.
Oh, thank you for that. No, this is really good. Well, and I'm telling you, it's like an onion.
There's a
'Cause
but there's a payoff in the wrong word. There's a payoff in that part of something about, for you, something
yes,
about the energy frequency of wrong,
wrong.
being wrong, doing it wrong. There's a payoff there because it's something, it's a place you continually put yourself in. You step, you know, if you were standing here, you stepped, you actually moved over here,
Right.
and your whole body language and your energy and the way I perceive you, color and all, changed, shifted when
Okay.
you said that I misspoke or misinterpreted. So I'm not saying that that's the most expansive place to be in any means, but it
Right.
markedly moved from, because I didn't want to be wrong.
Right. I gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes.
So I think I heard you say this, but I could be wrong. Uh, what if you played with my sense that I'm getting is this? You know, you're talking about the other communications that you're having.
Yes. Yes.
This is my
Okay.
sense that I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
My interpretation of what I'm feeling is, so
Okay.
there's no possibility of wrong. Wrong isn't even in the same stratosphere, multiverse, or multiverses in that particular thing,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways, just play with it and see, you know, because like I said, there are things, I mean, I can't think of a specific example right now, but there are been some things where the damnedest payoff
Right.
would show itself for, you know, and I'd go, seriously?
Oh, I know. No, noticing is a really magical tool, because I noticed that I would enjoy torturing myself. Yeah, I would be reliving a really horrible or like humiliating or embarrassing or because it was so visceral and so strong. I think I was addicted just to that.
Drama and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the payoffs are the damnedest things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'd like to make a programming note here about what you just said, Lisa, because I heard a few folks going, why would anybody enjoy torturing them? But that, if I'm not mistaken, because you and I say what?
It's a common thing.
No, it really is. And here's my thought on that, is that it's something that, if we are like Lisa said, she realized for herself she was doing this was a torturing mechanism that she obviously enjoyed. Because if you don't enjoy it, you'll stop it at some point because the word torture and enjoyment usually doesn't.
No, I know. I caught myself. Like sometimes another thought would intrude and I would get off of the torture train. And then I'd go, now what was I just doing? Oh, yeah. And go right back to it. And I caught myself doing that on more than one occasion. And that was very concerning. So, yeah, payoffs are not always what you think they are, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, and the idea of enjoying something that sounds so horrific is actually not, I mean, like I said, it's not, I don't know, the connotation of the word enjoyment is not the same as the connotation of torture. But there.
Well, I guess it's the same way I enjoyed cigarettes while I was a smoker.
Right. I gotcha.
Yeah, and I decided, I woke up to the fact that that was actually more painful and harmful than it was. And it was pretty easy for me to put that down. Yeah. So there's a payoff. We wouldn't be doing it.
All of this actually, brings us right back around to where we started with I am blocking my superpowers. Because some people say, well, how is that? Because we're just talking about, big things, but kind of mundane things as it relates to, vis-a-vis superpowers. But it's not. Mm-hmm. Because the superpowers come from within us. And, the title is Coming Online, blocking from coming online. Doesn't mean that they're out there, I got one. We're not trying to catch them as they fly by. They're already within us.
No, and they're also
allowing them to come online.
Yeah, and they're also not something that's, what I'm now figuring out for myself, they're not something that is being doled out because of some, whatever step program or, whatever you're learning or going through or with this one or that one or the other one. It's, or handed out by some savior coming through the clouds or whatever. It's all within us. And these, on one hand, small annoying habits of like in my case of playing small and what's the payoff in that, are those things that are blocking. Because as long as I'm playing around with that, mm-hmm. keeping myself small, keeping myself torturing myself or whatever, that is what's blocking those superpowers and abilities. Because they're innate already.
Yeah. So let's go really linear for a minute. You're driving down the highway and you've seen they're big cement
Jersey barriers.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, they're big, so I think everybody's seen one, but in case you haven't, they're about anywhere from 5 to 7 feet long. They're about 2.5 to 3 feet wide, and they have to be lifted with a crane, tons a piece.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. And, they're around here, we use them a lot for flooding if it's by a river and stuff like that. So if that's in your way, so one of the things that we've been talking about and playing with Sheila, and she's going to go off and play with it on her own, and we'll play with the conversation around that, But that's, several of those. And because her abilities are innate and because she's going out in a trajectory to gather information, experience things, come back around and expand, she's imbued those Jersey bears with all sorts of supernatural powers to morph and change and chuck and jive, and so she's got to kind of like zing zing. Oh, okay, there's another one, right? So play with it. And they are, so on the one level they are blocking those from coming online, and on another level they're actually building muscles so that when she finally chooses, oh, look at that, bing, and she dematerializes it, then it does come. Same thing with Lisa. So they are directly related. And I have to laugh. This image came through. So where I live, there's a big, very big river, and it has two forks. It's got the North Fork and the South Fork. And a little ways into town, about 20 minutes into the next town, 25 minutes, the two forks come together. And when I first moved here, I think like the day after, there was, I was learning to read the waters, literally and figuratively and metaphorically, around this area. And I noticed that these Jersey bears are all there. And I said, yeah, there's the still is going to flood. There's a big flood coming through. Oh, cool. Okay. So, so they put them all out, and then there was flood came, and I had to go down there, to get through. And so I just described these bears, right? They're 5 to 7 feet, about 3 feet wide, and tons apiece. So there were 40 of them that had been lined up. And when I glanced at them, the partial road was open. Because of the water, they were now all over the place, very easily moved 30 feet in a field and here and there. Piece of cake. The energy of the force of the water had no problem displacing this blockage in its way and moving it. And that's a wonderful metaphor for us once we, play with, look at what's the path, those kinds of things, to move from am I, I'm, I am. I am is like every river cresting at, 35-foot flood stage and effortlessly is going those Jersey bears and just moving them. And so if you look at the little things, this seemingly not really often noticed and inconsequential, you'll actually find that they're some of the biggest, strongest Jersey barriers because they're often overlooked, seemingly inconsequential, and they're kind of there all the time and you don't really notice them. It's like, that gook or goo or stuff blocking the hose or, for the water to come out.
Yeah, you don't notice it until it's completely clogged. What you were just speaking there, yeah, I can see where that's.
Right. Then it has your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, when there's no water.
Well, and the other thing, it's a common, maybe not as common anymore, which is really cool. But it used to be a pretty common thing to say, well, the thinking and the kind of pointing and the categorizing and the slotting, well, that person's got it all going on and this person's got this, that, and the other thing, and I can't do that. But there's so many things that each one of us that are saying those kinds of things have had experiences with, and unbeknownst to them yet, because they haven't gotten to the I am, not blocking anymore, hone various superpowers, skills, and all that kind of stuff of the quantum sort through all of their things that I haven't done. I haven't spent the time. I didn't notice to look at that. Wasn't drawn to that one, And that's the case with all of us in all different ways. And there may be one, we're going to use this title. So we'll go with it. So I may have one superpower, right? That someone else has, but I have my own spin on it. So it may do a certain spin or rockets, streaming something as the finish because I thought that was fun, or maybe not as a finish because why wait? It comes right at the beginning. So what I'm saying is that if we're hoping to be like so-and-so or be able to do what they can do, we're going to be damn disappointing and waiting a long time because it's not who we are. And we all went forth like, quadrillions squared plus a whole bunch of more things of source, right, beings went forward, and our trajectories to go out and experience and expand and explore and create. Okay, so I think there was a lot of different creations and different spins and twists and co-creation and all this kind of stuff. So none of them will be identical by design.
Yeah, that's the entire point. That's what I keep saying too. That's what. And I'm sorry, I've been wanting to do this on camera, so I'm gonna. Every time I hear the word, I hear it as a sing song, cosmically delicious. From the
Not a lot. Everything lately.
Yeah, I know, right? I hear that all the time because it is. I mean, it's absolutely cosmically delicious that, and the humor in it for me is hysterical too. That of course that's the whole point of all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that if someone's been playing with the tool or realize they're doing something or kind of playing on their experiment, and you ask and they want to say, well, yeah, I just do it like this, and there's nothing wrong with that, because oftentimes, and this goes back to the previous video, in asking a question and in giving voice to something and having the courage and not being so small and to put it out there, it's an amazing gift to all sorts of other beings, and so it then is a spark. It's like, oh wow, cool, and you run off and go play because it's lighted something in your imagination, your creativity. Now the person may be looking, going, well, that doesn't look anything like that. Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because there was that spark in what you were doing, and I watched and I experienced at the same time that you were doing it, and we kind of shared that energetic envelope of that creation and that doing of that superpower.
Well, that's
I'm
where
so excited, I'm gonna run out,
that's where inspiration stems from. So
Yeah.
and that in itself for me is why every single any being that feels moved in any way, shape, or form to say something, do something, contribute something in any way, and then thinks better of it because maybe so and so over here is doing that, or that's just been done before, or whatever. I guess because I feel like this has come in like 3 times for me in this conversation, and at least once in the last one. Sophia Love did something that I recorded just today, I think it was, in regards to her dining room table, and not seeing how, even though she's lived there for 20 years, that to change its trajectory just a little bit changed everything. And she was marveling at how she didn't see it. Mm-hmm. I feel like that about what I'm saying, is that it might sound the same or feel the same to you, but it could be that when a person contributes something, or if they're nudged to do something like that, it's specific. There's a specific reason. That's why, with all of us being unique, every single one of us being unique, that means that there's at least one special thing that you're to contribute. And what if that nudge that you ignore because you think that Joe Blow down the street has got that covered was the one thing that you're supposed to contribute? I mean, I doubt it, but it could happen. And I'm just saying that's what because it's that might be the one thing that helped jog someone else to see something that they didn't see before. And yeah, Joe Blow down the street might have it, but maybe the way he delivers that information or the frequency with which it was put out just didn't mesh with this other person that would have received that spark from something that would have come from you and your nudge. And
always follow your nudges. That was always the case before, but right now that's absolutely the case. And it's always going to be unique because you're creating it. It cannot not be unique. It's just the way it is. It's completely different. You may have a similar feel or look, but it's the energy frequency of it and the intent, emotion, the power of expansiveness behind it is going to be all slightly different. And I agree with Sheila that absolutely not on the only one thing that you create, contribute, but that's a good way to, pare it down. But absolutely that the fact that, using that as an analogy, missing that thing, because that happens all the time.
Yes.
There are thought forms that come out when there's an idea for a new toy or a new gizmo or whatever it is, or something to help people. It goes out and it sees those thought forms seed and a whole bunch of different beings all over the planet get the nudge. Well, who acted on the nudge? Right?
Yeah, that's a very real thing. I mean, that's I think I read an article somewhere along the line that said that I think it's the patent for the thermometer was registered all on the same day in different parts of the world. And so you just never know where things like that can, yes, it goes out into the consciousness and who acted on the nudge.
Right. And of course the patents are unfair, and that's a whole other conversation, but that's a rigged system and it's not what people think it is. But
I get that.
Nonetheless, it's a good,
I agree with you, and you're right.
It's a good illustration of and the same thing. People say, oh, well, they took my thing. No. They encountered the thought form and created with it, and you're thinking, well, yeah, maybe someday, or, and until you saw it, you go, well, wait a minute. Well, you did. You waited a minute and a moment. So that's not to mean that, what's the euphemism? Snooze, you lose. Okay, well, that's just a linear kind of, again, make someone small and discount them and all that kind of judging and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to have more expansion, if you want to have more cosmically delicious, if you want to have more ease and flow, if you want to have more love, if you want to have more joy, if you want to have more abundance, if you want to have things less, and we'll go linear, so less with the chaotic and all that kind of stuff, then go with your nudges. Feel them, listen to them, pay attention to them, go with them. Be 100% committed. Do make the I am declaration in the core of you to go with them and do whatever it takes to go with them and follow them. And it may be scary at first. It may be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm only 2 feet and that's like a 500-foot being if I was doing that. Go with it anyways. Because what it unfolds for you is so incredibly, outrageously beyond what you could imagine as a good stuff coming in, because the stuff that would be good that would be coming in can't even compare to what starts to flow in. And the beauty of it is that it begets more and more and more and more. So people say, well, I really like to talk to my guides. I can't hear my guides. Or I really, want to talk with my soul and have all that implode in me, but I don't feel that. And, or I want to talk to my star family and all that kind of stuff. And a common refrain, Justin, is, well, you got to meditate. Okay, well, there is credence to that, absolutely, right? But you can meditate all day long if you don't follow the promptings and the nudges and notice and be subject to and connect with that and be committed to that love and the trust, it won't do you any good. Because why? I am done blocking my superpowers. And these are all those superpowers because they're not super. They're just who we are. This is the stuff of who we are. What we might label as magnificent or outrageously, incredibly, wow, that's who we are. That's who you are. That's who each one of you is. Don't you want to be that? What's the payoff in not being that anymore?
The biggest the biggest thing for me in that right there, and just that right there, is still there's still something there for that, keeping me block. I am blocking something. Not quite sure what or why. I mean, I've had tremendous growth, and I'm, but there is something in that right there.
So since playing is a big, I just play at everything. So you're playing a game and a linear game and I don't know, maybe it's jump rope, which I haven't done in years, or hopscotch or some game. I don't know, maybe it's surfboarding, right? Mm-hmm. And you got good at it and you're flowing with it. Now you're doing all sorts of tricks, or you can jump rope on your hands instead of your feet or whatever it is. And you're noticing what we're talking about, where, what's the path, and there's a blocking. So you could think it to death. You could get frustrated. You can go, what the hell is the payoff? And, all that kind of stuff. Or you could play, and whatever that game that that is your metaphor, or the actual game that you're playing with something, go back to the basics. Go back to just the new beginning. Notice it for the very first time. Maybe take the hand of your soul, or one of your guides, or one of your your star family who is not familiar with this planet, and show them how to play this game in the most cosmically delicious space that you can hold, in the most loving, and it's cool, it's fun, this is how we do it, and in that rediscovery, I think you'll find, you may not necessarily find what's the payoff is, but even better, you just completely go down a different road and it dematerializes. And who cares if you knew what it was, because it's gone. So that's to say, don't kind of have a payoff on finding the payoff.
Well, yeah, because the name of the game is integration, right? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And whip out one of your superpowers, which is, super expansive integration right at that moment, and just get into a space, whatever that is, however you get into that meditative, soft flow space. It could be all sorts of ways. And I do it in a lot of different ways, and many of those lot of different ways are not on anyone's meditation chart. But it's worked pretty good for me, so I'm sticking with it. and I do the meditation too, and set the intention that, just like someone says, well, I don't know what to do. Well, if you did know, what would you say? And it's a simple answer, sometimes annoyingly, kind of ridiculous answer, but when someone is actually in a space, usually if you're sitting and having a conversation, or when I was doing coaching, you're on the headset with somebody because they were around the country or the world, and you ask that, and they don't, before the filters, before the blocked and everything comes in, they just know what the answer is, and you're like, damn, where'd that come from? So the same thing, you can use your superpower of integration and just dematerializing. I just like that word. So dematerializing of something, of what what the payoff is, and go, well, I've felt into it. I understand what I want to do. I understand that there was a payoff for not doing it, and I have let that go. I'm dematerializing it. I am dematerializing it now and move through. You may have some other things that come up, kind of as a testing, as a proving down the road. Okay, fine. But we're that good. The superpowers, such a silly thing to call them, but the superpowers that we have are pretty astonishing. And you know what? They're not just, what have we looked at? If we looked on a chart of superpowers that we could have, there's a whole lot more than what's on the chart. Those two, and various, iterations of those, but there's a whole lot more.
There was something that came in for me in regards to, and then it just went right back out again. A lot of that going on right now. There's a lot of swirling going on right here with this one. A little dizzy.
Well, because much to the chagrin of a few people, we haven't been talking about the superpowers yet. There's a lot of stuff happening here. You could think of it as we're in our bat cave, we're in our, cloakroom, we're in our special place, and we're polishing up all of those, maybe the costumes that we wear, whatever it is. This is great strides to really allowing these things to come fully online, to noticing that, wow, that wasn't in the book on the list of superpowers, but that's pretty cool. We're all right there. Just like, I don't know why this example comes to mind, but in horses, actually anything to do with horses in various different sports, but jumping or dressage or anything, trotting is one of the most powerful things that you can do. In fact, the groundwork that you do when you're working with a horse, if you're jumping or you're eventing, which is going over jumps and long courses stuff, is you spend 90% of your time on groundwork and trotting, and just a smidge over fences and the other stuff. So you can use it as a metaphor for any sports or stuff that you're used to playing or watching or whatever it is. But this is that. What we're doing here truly is that same percentage of how we flow with it, how we build up those muscles, how we oil the channels, how we graphite the energetic rails that we're going to put all this stuff on. This is how you do it. And the glamorous, sexy, cool, fantastical stuff comes. Absolutely. But if you haven't been in, the workout room or whatever metaphor you're using, for the room with all your suits, or sewing the costumes, for your superpower, you get different superpowers, different costumes. You're not going to have that. In fact, you might get out there and you'll go into your dive and you go,
I'm sorry. I have this very funny thing coming in my mind that I had a conversation with somebody once before when you said costumes. So I don't know that I can share it or should share it. Well, we were discussing how, when you first start out on this kind of a trajectory of trying to learn who you are and you think you're going to, she mentioned to me that she had a Captain Save-A-Ho outfit. So when you said that, I started thinking that came to mind for some reason. Sorry about that. I just had to share. It was too funny. I laid mine down. It's folded up neatly and stuff on the floor somewhere. Because I had one of them too. It was had a great big S on the front.
So this is the groundwork. And we can absolutely play with all sorts of, that might be fun to do as a thing where we can play actually talking about a few, or each sharing our experiences with some that we're fully come online with, or just getting the habit of knowing, or just playing, but also of noticing that there are different things that, like I said, we didn't even think were on the list. And it's funny how there's a list. Who made the list?
Yeah. What's up with that?
Yeah.
Well, just the moment you said that, I saw one of those, in the old films where Santa has a list and it goes rolling out, this big, long, for infinite, because that's what it feels like to me as far as that list is concerned. It will be as varied and as unique as each one of us are, and all parts of creation, I feel.
Yeah. And since we're infinite, that's about how long the list is squared. And if you manage to get to the end of the infinitely long list, you'd see a lot of addendums to the infinitely long list, because we're all creators and we're creating more on the list, and we're co-creating different things on the list. So we may have two people working on, superpower 1 and 2, and two others working on 1 and 2, and two others working on 1 and 2. And well, you could say, they all did that already. What are they all doing on the same thing? Except that there's two different beings on each of the things. So now you have 2, 4, 6. Now you have 6 iterations of that superpower. And what if they all switch to place? And now so this is how it goes.
Well, and we're calling these superpowers mostly, I think,
for me it's tongue-in-cheek, but
well, yes, and it is, but a lot of folks don't. Well, because I include myself in on this list. It wasn't until a very short time ago that the abilities, special abilities that this one over here had, or that one over there has, or and they're yeah, okay, yes, they are special in one way, but they are also innate. And so it's just that we just didn't know it, or believe it, or realize it, and all of those apply. It's not or, it's and, actually, and or.
Own it, claim it, know it, trust it.
Right. And so innate not at all superpowers because of their actually being more innate. But again, that's part of that programming and conditioning we've allowed for ourselves.
Well,
One of the reasons we call it that.
Yeah, you could try it on too, that you're super, so you have powers.
Absolutely.
And Lisa's special, and she's got special powers. But I mean, that's so
No,
right.
that's it.
It's actually a pejorative term, isn't it?
Yeah.
A superpower or a special power is a pejorative term. It's something that's a moniker that was given by the false construct on these tiny little plebeian little small beings down there, you know, lest they forget their place because there are people with superpowers.
That's right.
Well, that changes the complexion a lot when there are all these super beings all over the place, and there are a whole host of special beings everywhere. You just only have to look in any direction.
Well, and I know that we were going to talk about it in a different video, but I wanted to state here that for myself, the top of the list, because I started making a list of superpowers that everybody has right now that may not be being taken advantage of, that for me personally have been huge. Noticing sounds really, 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 really simple. And maybe you wouldn't say it's a superpower, but it is. It is a superpower. And it opens the door to a whole host of other superpowers once you actually practice noticing and taking it in. And noticing, because see, for me, the moment I actually started really noticing things and taking it in, opened up a communication level. It's multi-leveled, and it's the ability to take in data and information from multiple streams at once. Not just all of my physical vessel's senses, the hearing, the seeing, and the feeling, not just of touch, but of frequency and everything else, which then adds a whole nother level. So just that one little thing that's just a word, noticing, becomes this huge superpower that affords one entry into other realms.
Yeah, because it's a superpower. It's a superpower university. And it's a superpower mentor program of self, for self, with self, and source.
Ooh, I like that.
And that's just one. Simply noticing.
Yeah, just one. So we're gonna stop.
Playing is a superpower too. You play with the noticing. You've got
you're limitless
proving ground of superpowerness all over the place.
Yes, absolutely. And oh wow, this is so delicious. And one of the reasons that this has been so effing fun for me is that playing with the noticing. Even when things come up that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, being able to play with it, not take myself so goddamn seriously all the time. And knowing too that being an eternal being, and that we're experiencing something pretty fantastical here in this, not just the moment of now, but in for the physicality of what's taking place.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I just want to reiterate this because this is really coming in strong. There's standing room only in these moments of now to be here, to be unfolding and to be orchestrating and to be creating and co-creating what's going on right now. This is so much bigger than case in Tennessee or the swamp draining or the Q drops or the pedophilia. It's everything in all of Source's multiverses. And it has shifts and changes and ramifications of the most megalicious sort, cosmically delicious sort, in every moment. Stop being small. I don't know how to say it any other way. With and I say that with just the most joyous love, because it's a gift that you can give yourself that you'll wonder why you waited so long.
I gotta tell you, BZ, that I won't beat myself up over it, but that has come up for me.
Yeah.
Why did I wait so long? Because this is the most joyous I've been in my entire life. And I am enjoying every moment of it too. And so that more than likely will come up for other beings. I can't be the only one, I'm certain. You were saying earlier about, all of the different things that are out there, the Q drops and the case and all of that. And it is, for me, it is much bigger, but I can see the metaphorical pieces or the messages in each one of those things that are taking place out there that are actually, metaphorical in nature for me personally and for the collective as a whole.
Yeah, and there's a great point in that too, if you kind of turn it the other way or look at the reflection of it, that when you can move from I'm to I am, vis-a-vis superpowers, which is an infinite list we just discussed. But you take the journey. You must take the journey from that to, you could have a sense of somewhere that there's jubilation in the streets because, something has come to pass that you were waiting for. You will not experience it. It will not be in your field. It will not be a vibrational match to you until you do that. No one is stopping you from that. Only you. And you're working really, 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 really hard to stop it right now. Because Gaia is giving you so much assistance. Your soul is giving you so much assistance. Source is giving you so much assistance. People all around you are giving you so much assistance. It's all right there. The hard part is not in opening your heart. The hard part is not in not blocking your superpowers. The hard part is not in figuring out the dots and how everything is related. The hard part is not in seeing metaphor and everything. The hard part is keeping yourself small. Talk about excruciatingly difficult. Oh my word, you are expending so much energy to keep yourself small. And the same question that I asked before, why are you still doing it?
Yeah, see, even though we've had this entire conversation, I still don't have an answer for that. And that's one I have to sit with for a while, because I'm sure it's there, as there must be some sort of payoff that I'm experiencing from it. I'm just not certain what it is. But I am ready to find that answer and let it loose, let it go. Because I have been feeling, doing that, feeling the edges of the boxes that I put myself in. I really don't like feeling the edges of the boxes others try to put me in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I don't want to, I don't like the idea of finding that, you're still keeping yourself in that little pill case box, that tiny little one that over here that I don't have an answer for yet. I don't like that.
So go play and notice.
Yep. Go play and notice. Yes, there will be a number 2 to this video.
Yeah, because we didn't even get to just anything beyond the title. Part 1, the title.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. For me, actually, it really is part 1, the title, because the blocking part is actually really all we've talked about. And we've not, mostly probably, or at least for me in this moment of now, because I don't even know how to, it's something I have to sit with for myself about this particular one, about blocking it in general.
Yeah, and then we can get to unblocking individuals. Individual superpowers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
We'll come up with the subtitle next, and then we'll work on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Well, I think I'd like to close this energetic envelope, because now I'm feeling a date with my pillow coming up.
Yeah.
And a little alone time to dive into some of this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that either of you would like to add before we close this?
Just thank you, ladies.
Well, thank both of you as
thank
well
you for
as
being thirsty.
Yeah.
Say what now?
I said thank Keegan for being thirsty. That's how this title video popped right in my head.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you, Keegan. All right. Well, we will have all the usual things in all the usual places, of course, as to how to get in touch with everyone and take a look at Lisa and BZ's blogs. And if you'd like to get in touch with me for, just to add to the email list, or if you have any questions or comments that you want to put that way. And always, of course, that's what the comment section's for.
Yeah, give voice to what's bubbling up within you, because that's part of unblocking.
Yes.
That's part of moving through the title there.
Yeah. Well, and as we've said before on other other occasions. You never know what that might prompt for someone else as well. So, okay. Till next time.
Much love.